This is going to be a long one, but I need to share it. The past year has been an absolute nightmare, and if even one person can read my story and feel less alone, it'd mean a lot to me. I first met my wife, Lauren, back in July of 2016. We'd only known each other for about a month before we started dating. When I met her, she wasn't into things most people might call feminine. She didn't care much for doing her hair or nails, and her style leaned more practical than girly. Her parents had focused on her brothers while raising her, almost as if they saw her as just another one of the boys. They overlooked her needs as a young woman, so Lauren had to figure out a lot of those things on her own, everything from handling her period to setting boundaries with guys. I could tell right away she didn't realize how incredible she was, both inside and out. The way she spoke, the way she carried herself, it all hit me right in the heart. I fell hard for her. I wanted her to see herself the way I did, so I worked on building up her confidence. I bought her pretty clothes, flowers, and jewelry, and I made sure she knew how a man is supposed to treat the woman he loves. Over the next 8 years, we had our fair share of ups and downs, like any couple. But we always found our way back to each other. We were good at working through conflict in healthy ways. By 2020, I was ready to take the next step, so I proposed. 2 years later, in 2022, we had a beautiful wedding surrounded by our family and friends. After we got married, things felt even better between us. I kept showing her how much I loved her with thoughtful gifts, acts of service, and just putting in the effort. I wanted her to feel like she was my world, because she was. But then, things started to shift. Lauren began pulling away when it came to physical closeness and intimacy. She said it felt awkward for her, like something inside her just wasn't connecting anymore. It hurt, but I wanted to fix it, so we started couples counseling in 2023. Unfortunately, it didn't help much. Still, we managed to figure things out on our own, and by 2023, our relationship felt stronger than ever. That carried into the first half of 2024, and I thought we were in a great place. In early 2024, a big job opportunity opened up at Lauren's company, a 6-figure position. She didn't think she was qualified, but I believed in her. I encouraged her to go for it. She landed the job, which was amazing, but it came with a catch: she had to spend a month in Colorado for training. I didn't mind. I was excited for her and trusted our relationship completely. She came back in August, but something felt off. It was like her body was here, but her mind wasn't. She started acting distant, brushing off my efforts, shutting me out emotionally, and spending hours every night texting and talking to her boss. She'd have a drink in her hand while messaging him, and it started feeling wrong to me. I told her straight up that it bothered me, but she just kept doing it. Then everything came crashing down. At a barbecue, she and her boss got hammered. They ended up making out, and he even had his hands down her pants while no one was around. Later that night, she tried to reciprocate under a blanket. When I found out, I was furious. I demanded answers, but all I got were excuses. Sure, they'd both been drinking, but that didn't make it okay. I told her the relationship with her boss had to stop, or I'd make sure he knew how serious I was, physically, if necessary. She promised to cut ties with him, but it was all lies. They kept talking, sneaking around online, leaving traces of messages and open social media connections. The fighting between us got so bad that I couldn't take it anymore. She said she needed space, so I left the state to give her exactly that. About a week after I left, Lauren called and said she really wanted me to come back home so we could work on things. I wanted to believe her, so I decided to give it another shot. Before she got home, I went all out. I bought roses, champagne, and candles, and I made sure the house was spotless. I wanted her to see how much I cared and was willing to fight for us. When she walked in, everything seemed good. We had sex, talked things over, and for a moment, it felt like maybe we could move past this. But just a couple of days later, I started noticing how much she was messaging a female coworker. Something about it didn't sit right with me, so I pressed her on it. That's when the truth came out. Turns out, Her boss had made a fake Snapchat account, and they were using it to keep talking behind my back, pretending it was her coworker the whole time. We talked about divorce over and over again, but we never seemed to cross that line. Instead, we decided to start couples counseling to try and mend the pieces. Halloween came and went, my favorite holiday, and I didn't even get to spend it with her because she told me to leave. I was hopeful we'd have Thanksgiving together instead. She had to work on Thanksgiving Day, but she was supposed to have Black Friday off. I was planning a little Thanksgiving dinner for the two of us, something special. Then, out of nowhere, she said she got called into work. I wanted to believe her, but something didn't add up. I checked her location and saw she wasn't anywhere near her job. That's when it hit me, I'd been lied to again. She was on a date with him. Furious, I jumped in my car and tried to follow her. Her location kept pinging all over the place, but eventually, I tracked them down. They were at this big Christmas festival, lights everywhere, music playing, couples holding hands, enjoying the night. I stood there, heartbroken. That should have been us. Not her, and this guy she'd barely known a few months. I looked for them in the crowd, but I couldn't find them. And honestly, it was for the best. If I had, I don't know what I would have done. I might have ended up in jail. So I went home instead. When she got back, I confronted her. I told her I knew where she'd been. She tried to spin some story about running into coworkers at a gas station who invited her to the festival. She claimed it wasn't just the two of them, that there were other people there. I wanted to believe her so badly that I did, even though deep down I knew it wasn't true. The next week, we went to Hawaii. We booked the trip earlier in the year, and I thought maybe getting away from everything could help us reset. But it didn't take long for things to fall apart again. On our first night there, another woman flirted with me, and Lauren completely lost it. For the first time in our relationship, she got physical. She punched me in the eye, the jaw, and the chest, about 6 times, before I had to push her away to protect myself. And then, unbelievably, she accused me of hitting her. The second night wasn't any better. The same woman from the bar showed up again, and Lauren wanted to leave immediately to avoid a scene. I didn't argue. I understood she was uncomfortable, so we left. But when we got back to the hotel, she blamed me for her anger anyway. I tried pointing out the irony, me respecting her boundaries while she had trampled all over mine, but she didn't want to hear it. Still, we managed to salvage the rest of the trip. For a few days, it even felt like we were okay. When we got home, we went back to couples counseling. On the surface, things seemed stable, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still hiding something. Then, last Friday, the truth finally came out during a session. She admitted she'd slept with him while I was gone. She said she'd fallen in love with him. That Thanksgiving date with coworkers. It was all a lie. It had just been the two of them, doing couple-y things while I sat at home, oblivious. And now, somehow, she's back to saying she wants me and only me. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm hurt, confused, and completely lost. There have been times when I felt like I couldn't take it anymore, like I didn't want to go on living. Lauren was my girl, my everything. The love of my life. Now, when she touches me, kisses me, it all feels hollow and wrong.